My name is Nyokabi. I'm Program Officer with the French Development Agency, and I work at the Nairobi office.
East of Africa, traversed by the equator, Kenya, extending over 580,000 square kilometers. But beyond a peaceful appearance lies a country that is highly vulnerable to climate change.
In Kenya, what this means is that the few resources that they are relying on, the rivers are drying, the forests as well. The livestock don't have food to eat during drought. They lose a lot of livestock, especially in the arid and semi-arid areas, which incidentally comprise 80% of Kenya.
Kenya has a population of 44 million. GDP is roughly $1,000 per capita. Kenya is the economic powerhouse of East Africa. It enjoys sustained growth of over 5% per annum, a growing economy, but one that consumes more and more energy.
We are just above 2,000 megawatts of electricity in Kenya. The main generation currently is hydro. Then we have thermal, which is mainly using high fuel oils.
Even though non-polluting, hydroelectric power is dependent on climatic conditions. Thermal energy is dependent on imports and oil prices. Insufficient production, an aging power grid, the price of electricity in Kenya is one of the highest in Africa. For the population, access to electricity is a real problem.
There's cables, but no electricity at all.
I'm seeing the boats, they are here.
But in your houses?
We don't have.
No, we don't have. Very expensive.
You have to pay to get connected to electricity, and majority of the people cannot afford the cost of connection. You're talking about revenue that they would need about 5 years to make just to get a connection to electricity.
We are tired of using a lamp, looking for paraffin. We just need to watch news using TVs. Listening to news on the radios. Yes.
Access to energy, economic and human development are a whole. Aware of this issue, the Kenyan government launched an ambitious public policy. Energy is to become one of the pillars of development over the next 15 years. The objective, to attain a further 5,000 megawatts by 2030.
Il est très important que dans ces pays où il y a une démographie importante, où il y a une croissance économique importante, on ne passe pas par le stade obligatoire d'une économie très consommatrice de gaz à effet de serre.
The focus for the government is energy, clean energy, accelerated development of geothermal energy.
In the Rift Valley, Lake Naivasha, a volcanic region at 2.5 hours drive from Nairobi. At the heart of this valley, Olkaria, a geothermal site.
Geothermal is energy from the earth. Here in Kenya, because the earth's crust has been broken by the Rift Valley, we just drill and the steam comes out naturally under pressure. Currently, we are drilling to about 3,000 meters, and that is enough to get the temperature on the surface for the water at 200 degrees centigrade.
If you invest in a project like geothermal, you're able to supply power to people and the cost is lower. Although the initial investment of the project is high, and the end result is that the cost of power goes down because your source of power is not using fuel to generate the power, so it becomes cheaper in terms of the electricity bill.
But renewable energy requires large initial investments. The Olkaria development project stands at $1 billion. The Kenyan government was granted a loan by international donors. AFD is participating to the tune of $210 million. Eventually, steam wells and turbines will allow it to produce an additional 280 megawatts, a sustainable electricity supply that will be shared along the grid. Beyond increasing production capacity, Olkaria draws clean energy from the Earth's subterranean heat, thus fighting climate change.
In Africa, if you have geothermal, you can develop geothermal. But you still need to develop any other resource. If you have coal in your country, you need to develop it without restraint because of the emissions.
Si on prend le cas par exemple du Kenya, l'intérêt qu'ils ont à développer la géothermie, le premier moteur derrière, ce n'est pas la lutte contre le changement climatique, mais c'est bien l'accompagnement de la croissance et le développement du pays.
Et puis après, il y a une pression normale vis-à-vis de la communauté internationale pour dire « nous, on n'a pas toutes les capacités, on va être très impactés, il nous faut de l'investissement, il nous faut des moyens, il nous faut de la capacité pour pouvoir traiter ces sujets-là qui vont remettre en cause des années de développement. »
Africa is a developing economy. Europe is a developed economy. So if you put penalties on me when I'm developing, then I'm finished. If you are penalizing and I'm also borrowing the money from you, then you are penalizing me twice.
Mombasa, second largest city in Kenya with over 1 million inhabitants. Global warming is already being felt in this coastal region of the Indian Ocean. Rising demographics, a rural exodus, more frequent droughts, all impose water stress on the city.
We are sort of like chasing the dream we would be able to cater for the population growth as well. But in terms of the population growth, there will still be a certain percentage of a shortfall.
To ease the situation, AFD is financing the rehabilitation of water supply infrastructures. It all starts upstream at the heart of Shimba Hills. Here we find Marira Springs. Water flow is modest, but nevertheless crucial to the urban population downstream. The spring is part of a natural environment. This quality water requires minimal chemical treatment. It flows to the gates of Mombasa by simple gravity. No pumping is required, therefore no expenditure of energy. To avoid piracy along the pipeline, several kiosks have been installed. Villagers can get access to potable water.
Once you have like a dam or a reservoir, then you're piping the water to bring it closer to the people. So it really does help.
Kaya Bombo Reservoir, halfway along the pipeline, a vital junction for water supply. From here, the Mombasa water pipeline will deliver water to downstream populations. Rehabilitation of the system provides 10 to 15% more potable water, but it does not solve all of Mombasa's problems.
What we are receiving in Mombasa per day is 48,000 cubic meter per day, vis-a-vis a demand of 186,000. We have to build up to that required demand, but you're also running against time, because as you're building up the demand with what you're supposed to receive, the population is growing.
Mombasa Water is obliged to apply a policy of rationing, something the population of Likoni, a slum area, can truly do without. Currently, locals are waiting for the kiosk to be replenished.
So now, there's water in the tank?
There's no water now.
There's no water
in the tank? Yeah, we give it around 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours from Kayabombo to this place.
Deficiency in supply raises the price of water. Liberal commercialization of water arose. Some people even drill for water at home, then sell it to street vendors, who in turn resell it at 10 times the price.
Nikapata maji fresh, sasa ikishindwa ile ya Marere, huwa watu wanachota hapa kwangu.
He dug a borehole here at his place, and when there's no water in Marere, they come and buy here, and he found fresh water.
Maji safi.
It's clean water, it's fresh water.
This driller is probably acting in good faith, but who controls the quality of water supplied? In the heart of this derelict district, a few inhabitants connected to Mombasa Water Network with a meter at home also improvise as resellers. For the local population, water, although vital, essential to hygiene and general health, remains a luxury. Fortunately, there's a project for construction of a dam in 2020. Financed by the World Bank and AFD, it should secure supply of water in the region. But for now, we return to Marere Springs in the Shimba Hills, a national reserve. Its strategic importance to the water supply of Mombasa City has put it top of the list of local environment sites. KWS, Kenya Wildlife Service, manages protection of the reserve.
L'intérêt aussi pour nous d'avoir réhabilité ce système, du fait qu'il est basé dans le parc national des Shimba Hills, c'est aussi un argument supplémentaire pour la conservation de ce parc.
Kenya has, I think, the second or third largest population of elephants living in its natural state. These wildlife are actually not Kenya's heritage. It's actually a world heritage. Kenya relies heavily on tourism or nature tourism, and wildlife is a very, very important component. And because of this drought, we have also lost substantial amount of wildlife because of drought. And subsequently also we lose tourists themselves.
Wildlife needs water, and some of the big animals like elephants have to drink regularly. We have conflicts between wildlife and people, so I think we have to make sure that we have sufficient quantities for both wildlife, the surrounding communities, and their livestock.
Territories not only undergo climate change, but also farming procedures and poverty. These two women were caught poaching wood.
Na kwa nini sasa tukiwaeleza msiingie kule muokote kuni wakati mwingine mnaingia kule?
Tuna uwezo wa kununua makaa. Tutafanyaje sasa? Fanya nini na ndio nizoea huku kwetu?
Na sasa nikionya mtaondokea ama mtabaadaye.
Who could blame these women? How could they feel partly responsible for deforestation and climate change? To raise awareness of locals, KWS relies on local communities.
Are the people concerned about climate change here?
They are concerned so much. A few locals understand about climate change, majority don't. They say rain comes from God. Even if cut trees, rain will come because they don't understand. These local people should be educated because conservation is a collective responsibility.
We have educated our people the importance of having that forest cover remain intact, but they have to make sure that they also participate in the conservation. We have formed conservation committees within all the villages around the park. Why? Because we thought that it is not possible for us to conserve the water, to conserve the animals without involvement of them. So we have small committees in all the villages.
It's amazing that climate change is really connected in the day-to-day lives of the people, And when you have drought, then you have a direct link in terms of food insecurity. Pasture becomes scarce and people have to struggle to use what is available, and you have conflicts.
Probably the Third World War will actually be caused by lack of some very, very critical resources like water.
La question de l'eau, du fait du changement climatique, va être un enjeu majeur. On est dans une situation de stress hydrique dans beaucoup d'endroits. On est dans une situation où les conflits sur le partage de l'eau sont majeurs. Donc c'est un sujet très important en Afrique.
Everything is connected: climate change, water resources, health, education. Priorities that can be linked to a single word: development.
Yes, you have to be optimistic. Because if you're not optimistic, it's sometimes you can get overwhelmed when you're working because there's so much change, there's so much need, and there doesn't seem to be enough time to cover all these requirements. But then the optimism is that when you see the hope of people, that every day they are, you know, they're trying to survive, you see? You can't not be optimistic. It's hard not to be. You have to be optimistic because it's what makes you get up and do projects. Because you realize if these projects are not there, if you're not supporting people, it's hard to do the work. I mean, it will not have meaning. It's not possible.